يوم ارسمك ارسم امل بسام ونرسم حضاره ومدن.
Will the light go on?
Welcome to your weekly program, Bil-Ahdan, the show that brings the other side of Muslim American to your living room. We've been talking lately about the Somali missing youth here in Minneapolis. Raised a lot of national attention from the federal, congressional hearing, and FBI following and paying attention to the activity of the Somali community here in Minneapolis. We have here today Ralph Boalter. He's a special agent in charge of the FBI Minneapolis City Division. And we're going to talk about how the FBI look at this and any progress and how we can, in a way, improve the relationship between the FBI as an agency that care about the security and the safety for citizens of the state and the Somali community that most likely they are most misunderstood and been accused of a lot of association that a lot of complaints coming to us about how the FBI are dealing with them and how they have been picked and randomly monitored at the airport and otherwise. Welcome to Bil-Ahdan, Ralph. I think it's very nice of you that you give us the time and talk about this issue.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
You know, I mean, this case, has two sides of the story. One on the media, it's been like told on the media and Fox and CNN, and people are just going on, and they are very away from what's going on in the Minneapolis. And then you watch the media, you think those Somalis are just, you know, they are the one who's fighting there, and they are kidnapping, they are the pirates, they are the youth. So I want to see when a few Somali were missing, Somali youth, and then the whole country is up to arm to not figure out what happened, what they're doing, when in fact there are thousands of youth are missing every year. And my thinking is, why can't we look at this as a youth problem, of violence in the youth culture, in our culture, gangs and all that. And what, as an FBI agent, how you look at this incident and how this event of missing Somali youth?
Well, let me say, first of all, I think the Somali community, Somali American community here in Minneapolis and across the country has just not been in the consciousness of most people in America recently, and then up until recently. And we've had two fairly high-profile, publicized issues with respect to the Somali American community. One are the missing young Somali men who many people in the Somali community believe traveled to Somalia in support of conflict over there, of one side or another.
Civil war.
Yeah, civil war. So that's one issue. The other issue, of course, is a piracy issue, which has a great deal of publicity. So to the extent that people think of those two things when they think of the Somali American community, I think that's natural. But clearly, we have a very viable, healthy Somali American community here in Minneapolis. It's part of the fabric of our society. They're part of the American culture. And we as the FBI serve those people, that community, just like we serve any other community in America.
When you look at it, you've been just on this job a few months.
No, I've been on this job for 2 years.
Well, they would have been hired for Minneapolis?
In Minneapolis for 2 years.
So is there an FBI in every city, agent?
There are there are 56 field divisions domestically in the United States and about 70 offices around the world. This office, the office that I lead, covers Minnesota and both Dakotas. So we cover 3 states here.
So why does it say Minneapolis division?
Yeah, the headquarters is in the city of Minneapolis.
Okay, I thought there's just you guys getting just to watch the Somali.
No.
So well, let me, I know I'll go with the tough question first. I just read a report somewhere, I think it was a year ago, that there was the FBI monitoring the consumption of falafel and tried to do a kind of correlation between the level of violence or terrorism and the consumption of falafel. Have you heard of anything like this?
No, I think
Is
that's
this-
I think that's preposterous.
This
I've
is
never,
an
I've never
urban-
heard of any
an urban
such thing.
legend.
But I'll tell you what, this goes to one of my big concerns because the Somali community is the newest community here in Minneapolis. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what the FBI and what the government in general does and what we're interested in.
Well, they came from a culture which they don't trust the government over back home. We don't. I don't.
Right. Well, this is a new country and it's a new government, and I think as new Somali citizens, you need to learn as much as you can about your government, and the FBI is part of your government. I think it's incumbent on you. I think it's your obligation. I think it would help you in case, like we've had some searches, as you may or may not know, that were conducted recently in Minneapolis at some hawalas in the Somali community. That is not unusual for the FBI to do searches. We're in the business of investigating criminal
What triggered
activity.
that? What you say? I'm going to do searching with this community. I mean, a few missing Somali youth. There are a lot of missing people. Why can't we say this missing youth that Latino communities or the border of Mexico? You have war and violence as a major problem down there. We don't just take the whole community and we say let's search there.
Right. Well, listen. Those searches were. You're assuming that there's a connection between those searches and the missing youth, and I'm not telling you that. I mean, there might be a connection, there may not be. We don't comment on FBI investigations, and I won't do that here. The great interest in the young Somali men who have traveled overseas without their family's knowledge and traveled apparently together to some extent, or at least there was some perhaps organized effort to recruit them and send them
we know
overseas.
that for a fact?
We don't know. No, we don't know that for a
see.
fact. But the community, there's a strong perception in the Somali American community that that's the case.
So you have people in the community, in the Somali community, that's your, I would say, your agent or your cultural informant, and how do you communicate? Anybody in the agency speak Somali or understand the culture of Somali?
Well, we interact with the Somali community, but even beyond that, there are members of the community who have been very vocal about what they believe is going on here, and we as the FBI have an obligation, clearly, to look into this matter and see what's at the root of this problem.
That's fine. I mean, it seems like if somebody leave this country and go fight civil war in another country, it doesn't concern me, does it? Legally?
Well, it does legally,
How?
because as a U.S. person, and we're talking about Somali Americans, U.S. persons or U.S. citizens who are leaving this country. This is now they are all subject to federal law here, as I am and you are. You can't just decide on your own to travel overseas and join a war in the internal affairs of another country.
Well, how about all the American thousands of them? They go to Israel and fight with the Israelis, and they do. Some of them do legal things, some of them do international illegal things by occupation, settler, and all that. Why we're not picking on like those communities?
Well, to the extent that that is going on and it is against the law, then they are subject to the same scrutiny that these young Somali American men are subject to.
From you've been with this case for quite some time. I mean, it seems like it's been going on for, as the story from the Somali community has been going on for 7-8 years. Why is it a hot issue now?
Well, because the travel just occurred within the last, the travel that we're hearing from members in the community that is the source of concern has just occurred over the last recent period. And again, there's great speculation that they went over Ethiopians for nationalistic reasons, but there's speculation, there's broader speculation that they might have gone over to support al-Shabaab directly, and that becomes an issue.
This is the Islamic connection.
Yes, perhaps.
Yeah. So if it were if you are Ethiopian Americans who went back to fight the Somali, for instance, would that raise some concern of the FBI?
I think, yeah, in every instance that would. Every time an American citizen is going overseas to fight, that's going to implicate federal law in some way. Now, in some instances, maybe that's okay. We have to look at each individual circumstance, each individual occurrence of that. But let me also say that when a group of people leave to go fight, I mean, that raises
different than
other
individual?
questions. That raises other questions. Is there an effort to organize these
I
young
see.
men and send them over? Are they going over against their own will? Are they going over? There are a
I
lot
see.
of questions that need to be addressed. and
So,
answered.
so the fear is not because they are working with some Islamic group, they're going to come back and become like CNN and all this Fox saying they're going to be the sleeping cells and all that.
It's a concern, but it's certainly something that we look at. I'm not saying that I believe that's happening. I have no evidence to indicate that's happening, but clearly that's a natural concern, logical concern.
Well, it's
But
connected
one
to
thing-
9/11.
Well-
All this connect. If it wasn't 9/11, would that be a concern for FBI?
Well, it would still be a concern, yes. That'd be a concern, not just for the FBI, but for the American people.
Yeah, I
that would be a
understand.
concern. But also, let me also remind you that there's speculation in the community that one young Somali American went over and served as a suicide bomber. Now, I'm not saying that confirming that has occurred. It's something we're looking at, and we'll answer that question. But that raises serious
Suicide
concerns.
bomber, the way he killed himself is a concern? As opposed he got shot in conflict or he got killed. So the idea is suicide bomber that triggers, that's what Muslims do.
It's not a Muslim issue, it's a security issue.
Security issue.
And
When your relationship, and I know you said that you talk a little bit about trust and how you get the community and here in Twin Cities, the Somali community trust to talk to you, because you're not going to get very far unless the community are compromised and sharing some information with you. You are on the ground and people are there with them on a daily basis. And when we talk about the community, the Somali community, we're not talking about one thing, that tribal and some have conflict with each other. So when you say admit it, that somebody went and is that person from their tribe, from their area, or somebody else? So there's a lot of other dynamic, like what happened in Afghanistan. When we went there, everybody say he's a terrorist. We brought thousands of them, and 80% of them were not terrorists. So there is a dynamic there within the Somali community. I don't know if the FBI is aware of it and working on understand that cultural conflict within the community itself.
Well, we are aware of it, and we're working through it. I mean, we need to be cognizant of those dynamics in the community if we're going to be very effective at what we do. Now, at the end of the day, we will answer all of the questions that pertain to this particular issue. Who went, when they went, why they went, what they did, was there an organized effort to recruit them and to send them over, and what threat, if any, do they pose to the American society should they come back? All those questions will be answered. It's just a matter of how long it will take to get from here to that point.
Does the FBI work independently, or still has to work with the Constitution? And we know what happened with the legality of torture, and under that, you have to operate under some kind of law.
Right. The FBI has always spoken out against torture and those sorts of coercive techniques because they're morally reprehensible, first and foremost, and they're just not effective.
Yes.
In addition to that. So the FBI is committed to, I assure you, that the FBI is committed to the Constitution, the principles in the Constitution. We all swear to uphold the Constitution, and we can navigate within the legal parameters, established legal parameters, to resolve all of these issues. And we've done that throughout our history.
Is it different now under Obama? That when he said we don't torture and we're not going to do the things that was legal under the dark ages of Bush, what he says, the dark time of our time.
Yeah.
Is this affecting you at all in any way?
Well, it is not, because we were not involved in that sort of activity.
I see.
We never have been, and
This is CIA kind of.
I'm not going to point fingers, but I mean, we've never.
Well,
been
the memo was CIA released it.
Right, but I was on a radio program over a year ago and spoke on the topic of torture, and the FBI has never advocated that sort of
Well, this
technique.
is really wonderful for you to come, and I've seen you in other outlets try to reach out for the community and talk to them. And I think this is the only way to go. I mean, I think, like last time I was coming from Middle East, and I was just tapping my foot in the airport, and I was singled out. That was fast. I mean, almost people have reasons why they are really a little bit leery about the official and all that. So it's not like we make things up.
Right.
On a daily basis, there is an interaction with this kind of biased treatment of the community.
Yeah, well, I think it's a valid concern, and I think in some instances you're more than likely running into that. I think there's misunderstanding about the Muslim community throughout different segments of the society, and I think, as I mentioned before, there's great misunderstanding within the Somali American community and the Muslim community about the FBI and how we do our business.
We really appreciate you coming, and I hope you do well with your investigation. And I think the relationship between the Somali community and FBI is really, it's going to decide if this case is going to go any further. And I wish you luck, and we'll have a short break and come back with Yassine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to Boalter. I think we were talking to Ralph Boelter about the missing Somali youth and connecting to the Somali pirates, and it really it's getting very interesting. We have here a Somali pirate himself. He just came off the sea here. He's going to talk to us. Why do you hijack? We have here Yassine Isa. He's a student at Hamlin University. He's a great Somali. And he, you heard Ralph comments and the fact they really working hard to try to reach out for the Somali community, and all they concern the safety of the community at large, not just the Somali. What's your take on how this missing youth has been handled by the official and the media? We'll talk about that later.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here today. The FBI is really working really hard to find viable solutions to the problems concerning the Somali community. I think they have done a great job. Unfortunately, the investigation had not come to a conclusion yet. So there is this misunderstanding between the Somali community and the FBI, I would say, since the people in the Somali community mostly have not been, or they don't know much about the American legal system and things like that. So I think so far the FBI had done a great job, and I really hope that.
But what do you hear from the community? I mean, when they see me, they complain. They complain about they've been picked on at school, at the airport, and is this a picking up or just a misunderstanding? It's just a procedure with everybody, and it's happened to be a Somali that the one is going to be checked out at the airport, because they check thousands of other people.
A lot of people are complaining about the fact that the FBI is coming to their homes or pulling them over and asking them questions. Some of the people I've spoken with have really questioned the legality of such actions. I think that the FBI is targeting the whole community. It's not like
the Somali community.
The Somali community. Because of the fact that they're Somalis, they're Muslims. I mean, America has done a great job welcoming these new immigrants, which are enjoying the American dream. But what we are missing here is the fact that the FBI is really not focusing on these bad people who are going to.
And you look at it as a criminal act, not a religious, not a movement. Focus on just those individuals as what?
These individuals are criminals.
Yes,
they're engaged in criminal activities and criminal behaviors. This has no representation of Islam or any other religion. So these people are not doing what they're doing because of Islam. They're doing what they're doing because of the fact that some people have brainwashed them.
Well, how about the nationalism part of it, the nationalistic fear? My country is under attack, been invaded by Ethiopia. I'm going to go defend it. Americans go to Israel and do the same thing. Israel has been under attack or is going to attack. I'm going to go and fight with the Israelis back.
The issue of Israel is different from that of Somalia. Somalia is a country that had been in a lengthy civil war. Whereas Israel is dealing with another kind of a political war. So the Somalis, when they go to Somalia and say, well, we're fighting because we love our homeland, I think that's a different story. But you also have to know this, that the Ethiopians are not there in Somalia simply because they have invaded the country. They're there because the Somali government had authorized for the Ethiopians to come.
Well,
and
assuming
protect
the
them.
government is representative of the Somali community, they are not.
Well, so, we have to know that the Somali government that is in place today, it's not a government that was democratically elected.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the Somali system. People
No,
have
I'm not.
in Somalia as well as other countries, people have they don't have the choice to go to the polls and cast their vote. Basically, the parliament votes for the president and the prime minister. So the people in Somalia they can argue that the government is not representative of the whole state. But at the same time, I don't think that violence can bring justice and good outcomes.
How about you personally? Did it affect you in any way in your daily life, in school, supermarket, work, in any way? How do people look at you when they hear on the news Somali pirates, Somali missing, and Somali suicide bomber? I myself, I'm afraid.
I'm very afraid.
I'm afraid to talk to you.
Well,
I
well, I hope you don't see me as such. I am very.
It's been in the media and overplayed.
Well, I think the media has certainly overblown things. The media had exaggerated the story. As you can see, every day that we wake up, we see in the headlines, Somalis are pirates, Somalis are doing this, Somalis are fighting with Ethiopians. Personally, it had a big impact on me. For example, in January, I went to Germany for vacation, and when I came back, I went to Germany and then Dubai for 10 days and then came back to the United States. When I came back, I landed in Atlanta, and the immigration people didn't ask me anything. Once they saw that, my passport and my name, the first thing they told me was, hey, you have to follow that officer, and he will take you to a special room and question you. I'm an American citizen. A very good citizen. I would do everything for America. America had done a great thing for me and for other communities. I think a lot of
Somalis feel that way.
So what did I do to be questioned, to be asked very nonsensical questions? I've not done anything. Simply, I was vacationing and came back. So rather than the Immigration and Customs saying welcome home, they welcomed me in a way that was very unprofessional. And that would not make a lot of people happy. I was in line for three hours. I was held for almost 2.5 hours. I missed my flight. When I came to Minneapolis, I went to the FBI to file a civil rights complaint. I'm still waiting to hear from them and the Department of Homeland Security. And I've not done anything wrong. I'm just an American citizen who decided to go abroad and have a good vacation, came back, and I had to go through all these
It's interesting
hurdles.
For people like you who want to play by the rules, or want to enjoy their life, and then you have an incident like that, now you're politically conscious about the abuse of the other people who couldn't even articulate their problem the way you do.
Right. I take this as a basic misunderstanding of human cause. What we see today is that the American government, the FBI, the CIA, all these agencies are working to protect the American citizens, including the Somalis themselves. But what we see is that some people are they can't distinguish between Somalis. You know, they see all Somalis as people who are pirates, people who are here to bring bad things, people who simply would go to Somalia to fight. And that's not the cause. They're very good Somalis who are the backbone of this economy and this country.
And the fact that
and
this
would do
country
anything for America.
opened the door for them after the devastation of their country.
Right. America is a great country. It's the country that, you know, not only helped immigrants, but America was founded on, you know, immigration ideologies. People here came from different countries, whether it's today or 200 years ago. So the Somali people are here to make a living. This is their new home. They will do everything to be part of the society.
And I haven't seen anything wrong done by the Somali community all these years in the country here.
You know, the Somali people, like I said, the majority of the Somali people are nice people. They're very good citizens. They're people who want to live and lead ordinary lives. But there are these teenagers that had been brainwashed.
Are they different than a typical American teenager that been watched, go and girlfriend left him, he go and killed 10 people at the school? Or, I mean, teenager problem is everywhere.
You know, indeed, I truly agree with you.
We have only 30 seconds, just wrap it up.
The Somali teenagers are different because these people have been in a civil war-torn country, and then all of a sudden they were brought to a different country.
I see.
So they're suffering from a lack of, you know, they're living in a different culture that at the same time they don't have, some of them don't have good parents.
Especially when they rejected them.
They rejected them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yassine Isa was Hamlin talking about his experience with the authority here. Talk to you next week. Thank you and check our website. Assalamu alaikum and God bless you all.